exploring the versatility of the Holmium laser. Please, Dr. Tanuj Bhatia.
Thank you, Manohar sir. So, I'm very happy to talk about this topic because holmium is a very versatile laser, and even when I was a resident, I used to think that holmium can only be a high power holmium can probably only be used for a HOLEP or a prostate surgery. And gradually, as I got my hands on it and I learned RARS, and then when I got it at my center, we started using it for so many things. And in the first year itself, we had done about 1,000 laser procedures. So our management was also very happy. And I think that is a good thing about high power laser. And when one has to make a choice, one should go for a high power holmium laser. And in the next few slides, I will tell you the added advantages of it. So if you look at a business perspective, the urology laser market is, it is projected to reach at $1.3 billion by 2025 with an annual growth rate of about 5.7% per annum. Laser is becoming necessary and indispensable asset in urology. We know that now laser is available in many tier 2 and 3 cities as well. And so what determines the market position? It is the effectiveness and versatility of a energy source. That is why the versatility component of a energy source or the laser is very important. So if we talk about the routine uses of high power holmium laser, we know it is commonly used for HOLEP. We know it is also commonly used for RARS and routinely used for URS if you have one in your setup. So how do we make it more useful? By using it for procedures like mini and micro PCNL. So miniaturization of PCNL has made the laser more useful in our setups, especially with micro PCNL. And even with mini PCNL, initially we did not have the smaller pneumatic probes, and most of the people do use laser for lithotripsy in mini PCNL. Then for laser endopelotomy, in patients with secondary PUG obstructions, laser endopelotomy can be done. Then laser TURBT, just like Dr. Taneja showed us just now, how quickly and nicely we can do a TURBT with laser and an en bloc TURBT. Laser resection of PCS tumors. This is very important. We are able to save kidneys if we are able to take out the small PCS tumors using endourology. For ureteroceal incisions, laser can give very nice cuts, and I'll show you some videos. It can also be used for optical internal ureterotomies, and there have been papers which have shown very good results. And it can be used for posterior urethral valve incisions. And if you go outside urology, for the non-urinary stones also, holmium laser can be used. And I'll show you an example. So all my videos are unedited videos, so it will also show how quickly we can do these things. So this is a right-sided ureterocele, and we can see the nice bulge. And I'm going to incise it with laser. I'm using a 26 French, I'm using a OIO sheath actually in this case with the Indian working element, which is the Gopinath working element. So we make the typical smiling incision on the ureterocele, just like we do with the electrocautery, but we do it in a non-contact mode. We try not to dig inside. We cut it layer by layer gradually, and we have to be patient in this. So when I did the initial cystoscopy of this patient, I could not actually see the ureteric orifice because it was very stenotic. But you will see as this ureterocele collapses, I was actually able to see the orifice also. I'll just fast forward a little bit. So you can see we go layer by layer, and even though the ureterocele, you can see the orifice there. So even though this ureterocele actually seemed very thin, the wall is usually not as thin as it appears. So you have to patiently laser, and there you can see. Once you find the lumen, you can widen the incision, going on either side and making the typical curvilinear incision. But it has to be a full thickness incision. We have to keep the laser fiber almost parallel to the bladder wall during this incision. If we go, otherwise we can go very deep inside the bladder wall, or we can just be cutting very superficial. So for this to work, it has to be parallel to the bladder wall. You can see nicely the inside the ureter also, and you can see how wide it is. You could just pass the sheath up there. And actually, if there is a stone inside, as it was in this case, you can just go inside and take out the stone through the same sheath. You can see there's a stone, a secondary stone there. And this was taken out through the same OIU sheath. And at the end of the procedure, this is how it looks. After this, and this another advantage this working element gives us is we can pass a guide wire through the same working element. So I usually have this working element on my table in all bladder stones and cases like this. It's really useful. And even when I'm doing TURBTs, this working element helps us. I can use it with the resectoscope and pass a guide wire under vision with continuous flow. So after this, I use a endocollatomy stent as reverse stent. Moving on to the next video. So this is a case of secondary PUJ obstruction post pyeloplasty. Patient came back with a recurrence, and we know that if patient has had a open or a laparoscopic pyeloplasty earlier, endocollatomy gives us good results. So if this is a left-sided PUJ obstruction, so on the left side, we have to make an incision at 5 o'clock position. On the right side, we have to make an incision at 7 o'clock position. And it is mandatory to do a contrast CT before we go in for a laser endocollatomy to rule out a crossing vessel. So here, as we have to very patiently make the incision. One can do this with a flexible scope or also with a semi-rigid scope. It is a personal choice, whichever you choose. I feel semi-rigid gives me more control over the incision. So I generally use that. So with the guide wire in place, we gradually deepen the incision in the same line. Even though the initial incision seems actually at 6 o'clock, as you deepen it, we keep going more posterolaterally. And ideally, we should cut till we see the fat. What some people like to do is after a certain amount of incision, they do a balloon dilatation and they come in again and see whether they're seeing the fat or not. We can see the calyces there inside the kidney. So gradually we deepen it. And it's not mandatory that we see a lot of fat. If we see fat at any one place, it is enough. One way to confirm it is that you can do a RGP at the same time and you will see extravasation at that point. And after completion of the incision, in these cases also, I like to place a endocollatomy stent. Although even a normal 6 or 8 French DJ stent, you can see there, it has gone pretty deep now. So even though a normal 6 or 8 French DJ stent would also give equivalent results, but I personally like to place DJ endocollatomy stents. It also tells me that my incision is wide enough because the stent is passing easily across the PUJ. Moving on. So this is a case of a solitary kidney with a small tumor in the left PCS. And these are the cases in which, I was very happy that I could actually save this patient from going on dialysis. So I did an endourological management using a flexible ureteroscope. We can see that small tumor there. And how we have to do it is we have to fire at the stalk, just below the stalk. This was actually under spinal. I know GA would have been a better choice, but his chest was not good. And so we had to do it under spinal, and you can see very quickly we could tackle this. And this is not fulguration, this is actually resection. And after this, I just used a basket and took it out. It was a low-grade TCC. And this has been almost 3 years now. I have done multiple flexible ureteroscopies after this, and luckily he has not had a recurrence on same side. So as I said, we are using laser now routinely for mini and micro PCNL. This is a mini PCNL. It's a procedure like many of us really like to do. It's very nice to break the stone and it just comes out with the flow, as we will see. This was about a 11 millimeter stone, a hard calcium oxalate monohydrate stone. And we just quickly break it after the quick puncture. This is a 15 French sheet that I'm using here. And after we have fragmented it adequately, we know that in many PCNL, the stones, they just come out by the Venturi effect. Sorry.
Is it mute?
So we can see, yeah. You can see how nicely it just comes out. We don't have to use any forceps in mini PCNL. And now we are adding the advantage of mini PCNL to supine, and we are doing now more and more supine mini PCNLs and also super mini perks. So moving on, this is a case of posterior urethral valve. This is actually an adult male, and I'm using resectoscope, laser resectoscope with the working element in this case. So this patient came in with renal failure, chronic CKD, and bilateral hydroator nephrosis, and typical features of valve. And we can see those leaflets there. They're not very wide leaflets, but they were there. We just did a cystoscopy to confirm, and once we found these, we incised with the laser. And we just have to make a full thickness cut with the laser, but we have to be very careful not to come distal into the urethra, because that will prevent our urethral stenosis. It is much better than some of the blind techniques or that some of the pediatric surgeons use, or even electrocautery for that matter. Laser gives a very nice, clean, controlled cut, and the results are equivalent to other methods of fulguration. You see, it is usually very fast with laser, anything, and the vision is good if the right scope is selected. So coming to some of non-urological procedures, this is something we are doing routinely now, because in North India, there are a lot of gallbladder stones and CVD stones. And sometimes if the gastroenterologist is not able to manage them with ERCP, our general surgeon friends call us, and they do a lab CVD exploration, and through one of the ports, we just pass the semi-rigid or the flexible ureteroscope, and we break these large stones. So I've personally gone into the CVD distally till the duodenum, and I've even gone up into left and right hepatic ducts. Only thing is we have to be careful. We have to manage these stones just like we manage the ureteric stones. We have to break the stones from the center. We have to fragment them and take it down. We cannot be dusting them inside these so that there's no stricture formation later. And usually these patients have a stent in position because of the previous ERCP, and it's very easily to be sure where you are, and you can pass a guide wire right into the duodenum, and it helps us going in and coming out again and again. So that my take-home messages would be that holmium is effective, holmium is very versatile, and these features should be utilized for passing on the benefit to our patients and increasing the utility of laser, making it more cost-effective. Thank you, sir. I hope I saved some time.
Yeah, that's a very good presentation, Dr. Tanuj. So I saw one, just a comment, one
Yes,
video when you did a laser endopilotomy.
Yes, sir.
I think the guide wire, there seems to be a glide wire.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what is the settings you use for endopilotomy?
Sir, I generally, for all these procedures, I like to use 0.6 to 0.8 joules, and generally 35 hertz.
35 hertz.
Yes, sir. I usually don't cross 1 millijoule for any of these procedures.
Yeah, because one of the damage it causes to glide wire while using a laser, it can break. We
Yes,
have cases wherein you use a laser in a glide wire. It's preferable to change it over to a stiff wire or a zebra guide wire and do the procedure, because it stiffens the ureter, and you just take out the angulation. And when you're doing it, you'll get a counter traction. It will give a counter traction, the rigid stiff wire, especially 0.38. If you use a 0.38 guide wire, it gives a traction, and with the laser, you can counter traction, and you can just one cut. is sufficient. There's a one point comment I want.
That's a great tip, sir. Thank you so much.
The other question they were asking is what is the laser setting for, that's what endopanatomy answered. And also what is the laser setting for transitional cells here? What did you use it?
Sir, I actually use 0.4 hertz for 0.4 millijoules, more of hemostatic setting in that case. Because it was just at the neck of the infundibulum. I didn't want to go very deep. So I was just firing just below the stalk at the mucosa. And after finishing the procedure, I saw that I was seeing some amount of fat there. So I stopped. Okay. And then I just quickly took out the tumor and put in a stent.
Any other questions anybody wants to?
Sir, your mic is off, Vashni sir.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Very good presentation, and I am sure that people who are using holmium laser, they would be able to understand the versatility of this laser. The reason is that once laser is in your hand, you can do a tremendous amount of urological opportunity opens up in your hand. And to name a few, you see, you have mesh erosions into the bladder, and you have this gauge piece over which stones form, and then you can cut them. Otherwise, you have no reason that. So I have done tremendous amount of such cases where all other modalities would fail, and either you are left to do an open surgery. You have a basket which gets in the upper ureter, and the laser comes to your rescue by cutting this basket. Or at times your guide wire gets stuck, and you have to cut the guide wire. Sometimes post partial nephrectomy, there is a clip which slips down the ureter, and there is a problem taking it out, and you can cut. So I think a very big Pandora box, and as Rajesh said, that you have to have a love for this modality and be able to use it judiciously whenever the need comes. You will be surprised that I got a call once from my resident that access sheet had got stuck, and we tried all permutation combinations, and ultimately we had to pass a ureteroscope, do a total myotomy, and then this access sheet could be delivered. So I think the versatility is tremendous, and it is really excellent talk.